Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be going over the top 20 NHL affiliated prospects in the league. Not going over, like Gavin McKenna is not going to be included in this list. I know that he's technically a prospect, but he has not been drafted by a team. So we're only counting the prospects that are, you don't even have to be signed with the team yet, just drafted by an NHL team. So, my last prospect liked video, I talked about the single best prospect on every single NHL team. But today we're going over the best of the best. It's only the top 20 prospects in the league. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. I do have two honorable mentions here. My first honorable mention is Caden Lindstrom. I think the world of Caden Lindstrom, the Columbus Blue Jackets prospect. I think that he has all the makings of a truly great, potentially great first line center. I think he also can move to the wing if necessary. But it's just the injuries, right? I feel really bad for him. I think I talked about this a little bit in my other prospect video, but I think that he's a great person. I think he's a great kid. I think that like I said before, he has all the makings to be like a truly great first line center. If just he can get past his injury history, and I know that he had like the back issues, right? So if he can somehow overcome that and just have a great coming season where it's like he puts up all the point totals that we all know he can, while also being injury free, and having a clean bill of health, that would do wonders for him. Moving on to our last honorable mention, I have Dmitry Simashev of the Utah Mammoth. Left shot defenseman, has all the hallmarks of being a top 4 defenseman. I don't know if it's top 2. That's why I don't have him in the top 20 here. But I'm really impressed with Simashev's game. I think a really mature game at his level. I mean, his age already. So I think that defensemen take longer to maturate and to make it to where their ceiling probably is. But Simashev is already looking like he can be there soon. I think that he can make the NHL level real soon here. But let's get into the top 20 here. Starting off at number 20, it's an Ottawa Senators prospect. It is Carter Yakimchuk, right shot defenseman. I was talking a little bit before how much I really like Yakimchuk's game. I was high on him probably a little bit more than others going into the draft, the 2024 draft. I just think that he plays such a great two-way game. He plays defense, which is like, he's a defenseman, so yeah, you have to really. But his offensive game, we've seen this past calendar year how great he is at driving play, and I can't wait to see him in Ottawa full-time. I think it's going to be really exciting. Moving on to number 19, it's Berkeley Catton. I've seen some people really underrate this kid, and I've seen some people kind of maybe a little bit overrate, maybe have him in the top 10 prospects. I don't have him that high, but I have him at number 19. I think that's a fair assessment of him. Although undersized, he absolutely could become a number 1 center. I truly believe that. I think Seattle's in a really good spot here in terms of their forwards because they have a bunch of centers, right? They've got Wright, and they've got Berkeley Catton, they've got Beniers, they've got the guy they just drafted. I don't know why his name is escaping me right now, but they just drafted in this past draft. I'll have to look over that again, but they got another center. I thought they were going to end up drafting Porter Martone, but they went with another center. So they've got like 4 legitimate top 6 centers. They're going to move some of those to the wing, I'm sure. I don't think they'll be traded. I think they're going to keep them and just move some of them to the wing. But I think Catton, I understand that his size may move him to the wing eventually, but I love his skill. His skill is just all-world talent. Catton absolutely could be a number 1 center. And if he ends up being a number 2 center, then that means that Seattle's depth is just that good. Moving on to number 18, a bit of a surprise pick here. I have David Reinbacher of the Montreal Canadiens. I'm a big believer in Reinbacher. I've been a believer in him ever since he went to the Canadiens. I'm not ready to give up on him. I know that he's had 2 seasons here where it's like up and down and it's not consistent. If he has another one of those seasons, this coming season, yeah, sure, I'll maybe jump off the hype train. But for right now, I still am a big believer in Reinbacher, right shot defenseman. I think he does everything well. I think he does everything right. He is a very complete defenseman in my eyes. He's just got to do it more consistently and have a really good season here. Moving on to number 17, the only goalie on this list, as far as I can see here, it's Trey Augustine of the Detroit Red Wings. Big believer in Augustine. I really like Casa, Sebastian Casa. I really do like him. I think he can be at very worst, like a tandem goalie. But Augustine, I think, has the makings of a number one goalie for the Red Wings. I think he'll be the future starter for their team, for their rebuilt team. Really like Augustine. I think that he's, for as young as he is, I think that he looks super good. I think I would put him in that like elite tier of young goaltenders, like, Lucas Dostal, or, I mean, obviously Dostal's ahead of him on the depth, not depth chart, but like, he's older than him and he's got NHL experience now. He's more obviously ready than Augustine. But in terms of like the next generation of young goalies, I think I should put it that way, where you've got Wallstedt and Askarov and Spencer Knight, and Lucas Dostal. I would put Augustine in that group of goalies that I really believe in, to be the face of goaltending for the next generation. Moving on to number 16, someone who, I mean, he's in my top 20 list, so I obviously think very highly of him, but some people have him in like really high. It's Porter Martone. Porter Martone of the Philadelphia Flyers. I think very highly of Porter Martone. I just don't have him just in like the absolute best tier of prospects. He comes at number 16. I think that he's going to be at the very worst second line winger. But I think that he absolutely could reach, like first line status, all-star winger. If he can lean more into his physicality that like he shows flashes of, but if he can really be someone who drives play and then also uses his physicality to his advantage, Porter Martone is going to be really special. Moving on to our top 15 here, someone who I am higher on apparently than a lot of people because I've seen people really underrating him. I am a big believer in Jimmy Snuggerud of the St. Louis Blues. Snuggerud, he does what I want Porter Martone to do more often. Snuggerud brings the physicality and compete level that I want to see in like every prospect. I know that Snuggerud's, if you look at just his skill, maybe it's not the highest that everyone else has, but he definitely shows flashes of it. So if he can be more consistent with the skill that I know he can bring, and then just keep bringing that the passion and the compete level and the physicality that he brings often, Snuggerud is going to be really special for the Blues. Top 6 player for sure. Moving on to number 14, it's Ryan Leonard, the best prospect in the Washington Capitals pipeline. Ryan Leonard, I really liked him when he was drafted. I couldn't believe that he fell that far, but I think that was just speaking to how deep the 2023 draft class was. Ryan Leonard is the next Tkachuk. I think that he is the next Tkachuk brother. He should have Ryan Leonard Tkachuk, or Ryan Tkachuk Leonard, in the middle of that name, because he plays exactly like them. He's got really nice hands. He drives play. During the World Juniors, it was evident that he was going to be a big thing once he reaches NHL level. I'm thinking he'll probably get third line minutes in Washington this year, but I'm really excited that once he proves it, once he moves into that top 6, once the coach gets is able to trust him. Once Ryan Leonard moves into that top 6, it's going to be really exciting because he's going to be a pest. He's going to be, I think, Brad Marchand-like, where he can score on you, he'll set up plays, and then he'll also, be willing to fight you and just get in your face and get into your head. So really excited to see what Leonard can bring. Moving on to the top 13, number 13, it's Caleb Denoye of the Utah Mammoth. Really big fan of Caleb Denoye. I think that he's going to surprise people who maybe aren't fully clued into how good he is. He dealt with injuries, but that's, I think, the only reason why he isn't talked about more in, in that top tier of prospects. Because although I don't have him top 10 of prospects, I have him just outside of it, and I really like Denoye's game. I think the floor is a second line center. I think if everything goes right and Utah is able to develop him properly, yeah, Denoye could be, maybe a low tier number one center. So I think his game is so mature. I love his defensive game, and then obviously he brings offense as well. I think that he could be something like in terms of ceiling, maybe like a point per game, maybe not point per game, but like 70 point, really elite defensively center. So yeah, love Denoye's game. Moving on to number 12, I've got Sam Dickinson, left shot defenseman from the San Jose Sharks. I wanted the Blackhawks almost to take Dickinson if he was a right shot defenseman. I really wanted the Blackhawks in 2024 to take a right shot defenseman. So it came down to Levshov or Parekh, who we will see, Zane Parekh, we will see definitely later on in this ranking video. But Sam Dickinson, just because he was a left shot, I was like, okay, well, you want to prioritize the right shot defenseman because we had so many left shot defensemen in the pipeline. But Dickinson, I really, really like Dickinson's game, and I think he's proving to everyone how good he is this past year, how good he will be. Absolutely, he's going to be a top 4 defender for San Jose, for their their rebuilt team. He will absolutely be a top 4 staple on their team, and he could move into like top 2 territory. If they can get that number 1 defenseman who can run the power play, their number 1 shutdown defenseman will probably end up being Sam Dickinson, who can also, chip in offensively here and there too. So yeah, big believer in Sam Dickinson for sure. Moving to number 11, just missing the top 10 best prospects in the NHL, it's Roger McQueen of the Anaheim Ducks. I love Roger McQueen. Much like Cade and Lindstrom, I think they're 2 prospects who I think the world of in terms of skill and talent and potential. Like, just the potential's booming. It's off the charts. It's just the injuries, right? They've gotten in the way, and they could end up hampering their potential and their ceiling. But the reason I have Roger McQueen so high is because I could see Caden Lindstrom's potential being hampered, but I don't think that Roger McQueen's I don't think his injury history is going to really end up being too much of a problem. I think that that's probably in his past. I think that's in the rearview mirror for Roger McQueen. So Roger McQueen absolutely could end up being a number 1 center for the Anaheim Ducks. Now, they've got Leo Carlsson, so I think that Leo Carlsson will end up being a better player than Roger McQueen. So they end up with Roger McQueen as their second line center. That is an absolute luxury. They still got Mason McTavish, so does he end up being a third line center? Does one of them move to the wing or something? It is absolutely a good problem to have, though. If it ends up being the conversation they have to have of moving someone to the wing or end up trading them, I think that although it's kind of a tough conversation, it is a luxury to have. And Roger McQueen comes in at number 11 for me. Moving into our top 10, these are the top 10 best NHL affiliated prospects. At number 10, I have Sam Rinzel, right-handed defenseman for the Chicago Blackhawks. I think everyone's starting to finally see what I think Kyle Davidson saw all those years ago when he drafted Sam Rinzel. It's like he was a project for sure, but it was a good bet to take. And I think he's really going to show everyone this coming year. Sure, there'll be bumps along the way, but Sam Rinzel is absolutely going to be a top 4 defenseman for this team, for the Chicago Blackhawks. And he might just end up being the best one. Now, I don't believe so. I still think that honor is going to go to Artem Levshunov. I think that Levshunov's ceiling is higher than Rinzel's, but Rinzel's floor might be higher. So Rinzel is just so impressive already. just in his small stint already at the NHL level, I think he only had like 10 games or so, and he looked so NHL ready. And that's tough for a defenseman, right? They take longer to be at that level. So for him to already show that, it is very, very impressive, and I'm super excited for what he can bring to the Blackhawks. Moving on to number 9, a player I was never going to believe, at least at this time, was not going to be good. It's James Higgins. I know that a lot of people were kind of seemingly by the day leading up to the draft, it was like just less and less impressed by Higgins' game. I was not one of those people. I think that Higgins, well, I get the concerns about his size and, that he wasn't that impressive maybe at the World Juniors. I still am a big fan of James Higgins. I think the Bruins have a stud, just a future stud who I think he'll stick at the center level. The center position. I don't think that he'll move to the wing. I mean, maybe they experiment with it, but I don't think that 5'11" is that small. I understand that everyone is obsessed with size these days, and you have to be at least 6 foot. 6 foot, even just 6 foot, 6'0", maybe even small in some people's eyes. But I don't value size maybe as much as some other analysts. So James Higgins, number 9, I think that he will be a number 1 center for Boston, and if he can end up being that, having Pastrnak on his wing, Boston will be back to being good in no time. Moving on to number 8, a defenseman, a left shot defenseman that I really think very, very highly of. It's Alexander Nikishin of the Carolina Hurricanes. I think it's easily their best prospect, and it is one of the best defenseman prospects in the game. Forget just defense, it's just one of the best prospects. It comes in at number 8. I think right out the gate he'll have like a Brock Faber-like presence, where he just comes in and he legit might just win the Calder next year for Carolina. I understand that there's a lot of offensive prospects that might come in and just put up the points, so maybe Nikishin doesn't win the Calder just because he may not put up the points, but a lot like, I'm looking at the list here, a lot like David Reinbacher. He's like a better David Reinbacher in my opinion, where his whole game is so complete and is so NHL ready. He's had a lot of time to cook in the KHL. He's had a lot of time to mature there, and they've kind of over-ripened him where he's ready to go. No time should be spent in the AHL. I think I'm ready to see Nikishin now. So very excited there. Moving on to top 7, this is Zeev Boyum coming in at number 7, another left shot defenseman. A lot of defense in this list. I don't know what that speaks to, but there's just a lot of defensemen. There's like nearly half of the prospects here are defensemen. But yeah, Zeev Boyum, Minnesota Wild prospect. He never should have gone that low. He dropped like considerably, and that was a mistake. I think that teams will recognize that it was a mistake. There was a lot of good prospects, I get it, in that draft class, but Zeev Boyum was better than some that went above him. So he's a winner. He wins at like every level, and he's gonna bring a whole heck of lot of talent to that blue line in Minnesota when he arrives. I'm not completely sure. I think he is playing in the NHL this coming season, but I'm not completely sure. So any Minnesota fans maybe watching, let me know what the game plan is. Is he going to go to the AHL, or I don't think he's still playing junior. So yeah, I'm ready to see Boyum. I'm ready to see what he has to bring. The Minnesota Wild have one of the best prospect pipelines in the NHL, and Boyum leads that class. Moving on to our top 6, just missing the top 5, but this is just an otherworldly prospect. This is a prospect brimming with talent. It is Zane Parekh, another left shot defenseman. Zane Parekh, I said before, I said it even in this video, that he was the person I wanted. If not, the Blackhawks were not going to take Levshunov, and for whatever reason if they're not going to take Demidov, I thought Parekh was the next best option. I thought that Parekh was the 4th best prospect in that draft class, behind Celebrini, Demidov, and Levshunov. And now I think everyone is starting to see that Parekh has got the all the tools to become the number one defenseman for the Calgary Flames and be someone who might become like a household name in the NHL sooner than people even expected. So yeah, big believer in Parekh, and I think it's really cool to see him turn heads finally. Moving on to our top five. This is the top five prospects, in my opinion, that are in the NHL right now. So at number 5, I have Anton Frondell of the Chicago Blackhawks. Frondell is going to be really good. Frondell has the ceiling that is just really rare for prospects. Like it's only a few prospects that have the ceiling that Frondell has. Frondell is going to be at the very worst a second line center or wing, but his ceiling is that of like a first line center, and what impresses me so much is what he's been able to do in the Swedish league. He's got all the tools. Like he's 6'2", he's big. And his shot is just so accurate. It's powerful, it's strong, and it's accurate. So just that's probably his best attribute. He's going to be an unbelievable goal scorer. He's going to be at least a 30 goal scorer year in, year out, I believe. And once he's a full-time NHLer, which I think will be next year, as soon as next year. I don't think he'll spend any time in the AHL. He'll be in the top Swedish league this year, and then he'll probably see some action like last 10 or less games come at the end of the season with the Blackhawks, and then next season he'll be a full-time NHLer and in the top 6 for sure. So yeah, Frondell, big believer in Frondell. Maybe some people would have him a little lower, but I think his ceiling is just so exciting to think about that I had to put him at number 5. At number 4, though, it is Ivan Demidov of the Montreal Canadiens. Some people would have him at number 1 just because of how fun it is to watch him and like him being a human highlight reel. I'd like to see a little bit more from him defensively before I put him that high, but his offense speaks for itself. It is so creative. It is so elite. It is so wickedly entertaining that, Demidov is going to be a star. He's going to be someone who goes to the All-Stars, like year in, year out. And he's going to help drive that offense in Montreal and help them. Montreal has one of the best pipelines in the NHL, and they should be winning a cup like in 5 years' time or less, because Demidov and company, Suzuki, Caulfield. I'm going to be doing a video very soon, which is going through all the pipelines, ranking them 1 through 32 in the NHL, and spoiler alert, Montreal Canadiens are very, very high. And Demidov is a big reason why. Moving into our top 3 here, though, this is where probably the most controversial at number 3. I have Artem Levshunov, and I'm not going to waver from my belief that Levshunov, I think, is going to be something very, very special for many, many years to come. I think he's going to be the best defenseman of the Chicago Blackhawks. I think he's going to lead that blue line for many, many years to come. I think that he has the potential to be just this monster of like leads the, is the number 1 quarterback on the power play, and then can also, shut you down. I think that he just has to learn some consistency in terms of, defense. I don't think he'll be like, Jacob Slavin levels of defense, but I just think that his potential is just unbelievable to think about. I've compared him to Victor Hedman in the past. I think that is like maybe his ceiling, right? So call me a homer, call me biased, but I think that Levshunov is just, I just love watching him, and his ability to, shift from, he was in Belarus, and then the next year he's in the NCAA, and the next year he's in the AHL, and then also spends some of that year in the NHL. And yes, he has times where he looks like he's a little lost, but then it's only a few games, and then he's like, oh, I've already learned it. I'm ready to go. So while there will be bumps and bruises along the way, Levshunov's ceiling excites me so very much. But moving into our top 2 here, at number 2, some would have at number 1, I have Matthew Schaefer, left shot defenseman, number one overall of 2025, New York Islanders. Matthew Schaefer is going to be the number one defenseman on the Islanders, and he will be. I mean, he's already a household name because he went number one overall, but he's going to be. I expect for the remainder of his career, maybe a year or two to develop here, but once he is in his early 20s, I think that he will be a top 10 defenseman for the rest of his career. So that's how much I believe in Schaefer. But there is one prospect I believe in just a little bit more. It is Michael Misa of the San Jose Sharks. I think that he was the best defenseman of this past draft class. And call me crazy, but I think that Michael Misa, he was granted exceptional status for a reason. And I think that it's in the cards that he's going to be, maybe he doesn't stick at center, maybe he's a wing, but he's going to be like unbelievable. He's going to be a superstar. I genuinely think like 100-point player while also being, like having great analytics defensively as well. He's going to be a superstar, like I said. So Misa, in my opinion, is the absolute best prospect that's affiliated with the NHL as of current day. So that is it. That is my top 20 prospects with a couple honorable mentions thrown in there for good measure. Let me know what you think. I think this video is probably going to be a little controversial because everyone wants their favorite prospect on their favorite team to be a little bit better, so a little bit better ranked. So I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the conversation. Please let me know what you think. Maybe there's someone who's too high or too low. But or maybe there's someone who's not on this list who should be there. A couple names come to mind that didn't make the list but could have. Maybe Beckett Seneca on the Anaheim Ducks, or maybe Gabe Perreault of the New York Rangers. There's a lot of really good prospects, and that's why it is so fun to cover them. I love talking prospects in the NHL. So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, please consider subscribing. That would mean the world to me, and I can't wait to talk more hockey in the next video.